At ngayon naman, alamin natin ang epekto ng Australia visit ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. kasama si Dr. Froilan Calilong, political analyst at director ng Local Government Development Institute. Dr. Froilan, magandang tanghali po.
Yes, magandang tanghali, Ninya, at magandang tanghali rin po sa ating mga taga-subaybay.
Professor, kabilang po sa pagbisita ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. sa Australia, ang bilateral meeting nito with Cambodian Prime Minister Un Manet. Ano po ba sa tingin ninyo ang kahalagahan nito, lalo na po sa usaping rice trade sa pagitan ng dalawang bansa?
Well, basically, I think, Ninya, this is very important considering that Cambodia is one of the more important trading partners natin, lalo na sa agrikultura dito sa ASEAN region. I think this is going to be a very remarkable event, especially that the two heads of state are actually talking about the agricultural mechanisms that will make it possible for the rice industry, especially in the country, na mas mapatatag natin, mas mapaunlad natin. Because this is very important, lalong-lalo na isa sa pinakamahalagang konteksto at aspeto ng pamumuno ng ating Pangulong Marcos is sa pagpapaigting ng tinatawag nating agricultural self-sufficiency and food security. So I think a very important mechanism here will also translate or will also be referred to or inferred to yung tinatawag po nating technological skills transfer as well as the mechanisms po ng mas maayos na production ng palay. At siguro titignan din natin dito yung mga best practices na ginagawa ngayon ng Cambodia and why is it one of the more sabihin na nating dynamic countries sa ASEAN, lalong-lalo na sa rice production.
Okay. So ito pong usapin ito hindi naman sa pag-import ng hindi lang sa pag-i-import natin ng rice mula po sa Cambodia. Pang-ilan ba yung Cambodia, sir? Kasi kung tayo ang #1 importer ng rice ng Vietnam, hindi po ba? Yung Vietnam po, how would you compare?
Well, I would say that Vietnam for many years now has been one of the more compelling stories pagdating sa rice production and rice self-sufficiency. Maalala po natin na meron nga tayo rito sa Pilipinas na International Rice Research Institute, and in the 1980s, 1970s, ito po mga Vietnamese scholars na to, sila yung mga nag-aral dito. At when they went back to Vietnam, they really tried to apply the lessons that they have learned here in the country. And it really created a lot of positive measures for Vietnam, making them one of the more important trading partners, lalo na ng Pilipinas, lalo na sa rice importation. And you also need to understand na yung kanilang mga bigas is of course one of the more sabihin natin better yung quality nila as compared to the rice that we could actually source from other parts of Asia, particularly from India. So mas maganda yung kalidad at klase ng mga bigas that we are actually able to import from Vietnam.
Okay, sir, alam ko masalimuot na professor na usapan yung bakit ang Pilipinas ay napag-iwanan na samantalang dito po sila natuto sa mga techniques na yan noong 70s, sabi nyo nga. Tapos ngayon tayo ang nag-i-import sa kanila. Ano pong nangyari?
Well, this is really a very unfortunate thing for us. I think it's quite disheartening that we actually established the IRI in the country, pero yun nga, hindi natin siya napagyabong or napagyaman. I think one of the reasons for this is yung naging priority, lalong-lalo na ng ating mga mag-aaral. Medyo hindi natin napaigting kasi yung impression regarding agricultural profession in the country, para bang hanggang ngayon pag sinabi natin na yung hanap buhay ay pagsasaka, nandoon pa rin yung stigma na isa tong mababang uri ng hanap buhay, when in fact in many countries this is not the case. Even in some countries in Europe, they look at this profession with a high degree of esteem and importance. Siguro kakibat nito, siguro kailangan paigtingin natin yung mga programa na magtataguyod talaga doon sa usapin ng pagbibigay halaga dito bilang isang propesyon. Ano? Siguro hindi rin naman may tatatupan na for a very long time, at least bago nga po pumasok itong ating Pangulong Marcos, neglected po talaga itong ating agricultural sector. And I think it's high time that we create efforts to intensify and to make it better. Hindi pa naman po huli ang lahat. Ako po naniniwala dyan. The only thing is that the government must be able to muster enough strength and decisiveness to really make it possible. And sa usapin naman po na napag-iiwanan na tayo, well, hindi naman po natin din inaalis yung ganong kalakaran ngayon kasi katotohanan naman po yun. Pero ako po naman naniniwala that with the President being very decisive in trying to improve the agricultural self-sufficiency of the country by harnessing the power of technology and digital infrastructure even, no? Sa tingin ko, malaki pong maiaambag nito para magawa natin at may sakatuparan natin yung pagsasaayos ng ating agricultural sector.
What about the issue on geography, sir? Wala namang tayo narinig kasi masyado na binabagyo ang Vietnam. How about in Cambodia? Is it the same? Kasi ang Pilipinas talaga, tayo ang tumatanggap ng brunt ng mga storms na ito. Parang it's also, you cannot blame it all on the farmers because there's also the issue of weather and terrain.
Yes, that's true. That's true, Nina. No? Actually, yung mga bansa kagaya halimbawa ng Malaysia, even Cambodia and Thailand, hindi po talaga to binabagyo. No? Well, for one, medyo landlocked itong mga bansa na to. Yung kanilang terrain, walang masyadong coastal areas to begin with. Ano? Unlike in the case of the Philippines, wherein lahat ng mga bagyo na nagpapalakas o that actually emerge in the Pacific Ocean, tayo po yung talagang unang-unang tinatamaan yan. And I think this is the reason, no, na makikita po natin na medyo mahihirapan po talaga tayo year in, year out, no? Not only with agricultural self-sufficiency, but more importantly, dun sa ating disaster resilience, no? So, I think this is really a very, very important consideration kung bakit din po humihina yung ating agricultural productivity. Dahil nga po sa marami sa ating mga produce, bago pa maani, ay nasasalanta na, no, ng mga bagyo. No? And of course, napakaraming bagyo na dumaraan sa ating bansa, no? A total of around 24 to 26 on the average per year. And this is really problematic for us in sa ating agrikultura. So malaking factor po to, no, kung iahambing natin doon sa klase ng klima at klase ng geografiya na meron po ang Vietnam, ang Thailand at ang Cambodia.
Yeah. So siguro dapat po isipin na nila ano ba yung mga crops na dapat baguhin para po hindi tayo maging ganitong, sabi nyo nga, mababa ang productivity. Anyway, sa ibang usapan na po yan, no? Siguro sa Department of Agriculture. Sir, ano po ang masasabi ninyo na sana secure ng Pangulo na 86 billion peso investments mula sa nilagdaan na 12 business deals sa Australia?
Well, this is very good, Nina. No? This is really something na ini-expect naman po natin. Ano? And with every travel of the President, we actually are trying to get as much pledges and actually, you know, yung actual investments talaga po ang mahalaga na makita natin dito. So I really feel that this is going to translate into well-meaning programs, and yun nga yung tinatawag po natin talaga na actual investment opportunities. So I'm really also very happy na yung mga industriya na kung saan nagkaroon po ng mga pronouncements at nagpahayag ng interest, mga industriya na talaga namang masasabi natin, ano, they're very important, at the same time trailblazing, kagaya ng renewable energy, digital infrastructure, I think, and even of course yung mga traditional like manufacturing industries. No, I think this is really good for us in order to create more avenues for economic agility for the country, to create more opportunities for the creation of more jobs. No, that will of course be very, very important in securing yung tinatawag po natin na magagandang economic fundamentals ng ating bansa. So I think this is really something na ako personally expected ko na naman yan, because whenever the President goes abroad, he always brings with him investments, these pledges, because of the increasing trust and confidence in him and his government by not only by the government leaders around the world, but also by business leaders, no, kung saan siya nagpupunta ng mga bansa.
Karamihan po sa mga posibleng investments na nakuha ng Pangulo ay mula sa energy at technology sector. Gaano po ba kahalaga na mapalakas din ang energy industry ng Pilipinas mula po sa mga foreign investments na ito? At ano po kaya ang kalaking tulong ito sa teknolohiya at sa energy sector ng bansa?
Well, napakalaking bagay po, no? Lalong-lalo na itong renewable energy, especially because kakailanganin natin talaga to if we are to navigate into the future, no? Dahil nga alam naman natin yung mga non-renewable energy sources like fossil fuels, these are actually mayroon pong hangganan talaga yan, ano? So ngayon ang talagang dapat pagtuunan natin ng pansin ay yung mga tinatawag natin na mga sustainable mechanisms or sustainable areas of consideration na kung saan masisiguro po natin na maisa sa katuparan or magkakaroon po tayo ng sapat na kakayanan para po mag-navigate into the future. And one of this is of course the creation of sustainable, renewable energy sources. So I think this is also a very, very promising industry not only in the Philippines but throughout the world. You know? So marami tayong mga kumpanya that are very, very much interested in this. Because number one, it's environment friendly. Number two, I think it's more sustainable and it's a lot financially or fiscally sound. Ika nga po. So I think nakakatuwa that the president is very much into the creation of this renewable energy mechanisms, digital infrastructures, as well as yung mga iba't ibang mekanismo na kung saan may mga bago pong industriya na tayo ay nagiging involved. No? So I think this is a trailblazing attempt, no, on the part of the president to engage in these sectors.
Kabilang din po sa naging commitment ng bansa ay ang pagresolba sa double taxation issues with Cambodia. Ano po kaya ang dapat tutukan ng pamahalaan para po maayos daw ang trade and investment mechanism ng bansa?
Well, I think for one, we need to create more laws and specific policies that will really make the investment climate suitable, no? And less prone to a lot of these issues and challenges. No? So, binabanggit na po natin, marami tayong mga problema na kinakaharap, no? Particularly sa ating bureaucracia, na kinakailangan talagang maresolba at magawa ng maayos. No? So, I think one of the key steps here is to legislate, no? Create more policies that are in line with the neoliberal design, and to ensure that governments and rather the business sector and the business leaders actually will find that the investment climate in the country is very, very commendable and very, very worth pursuing. No? So actually marami na naman tayong nagawa niya ng mga batas patungkol dito, no? Kagaya ng Anti-Red Tape Act, nandiyan din yung ating Ease of Doing Business Act. But I would like to think na marami pa tayong kailangang ayusin, marami pa tayong kailangang gawin in order to cut down on the bureaucracy, no? Kasi masyadong bureaucratic pa rin yung setup natin, no? Lalong-lalo na sa pagkuha ng mga lisensya, ng mga permits. I think we can streamline and re-engineer this even further. And if this happens, mas magagawa natin mas maging conducive for investment yung ating bansa.
At sir, ano po ang masasabi ninyo sa naging pagbati ni Australian Prime Minister Richard Marles sa patuloy na paglakas ng ekonomiya ng bansa sa ilalim ng pamumuno ni Pangulong Marcos Jr.?
Well, I think this is something that I actually expected, not only because Australia is a very, very important partner and a strategic partner at that. No? Pero yun nga, we know for a fact that the president for several months now, actually years now, that he's been in power, nakita naman natin yung kanyang yung pagtanggap sa kanya especially in the international community. And I agree with what the Lowy Institute actually pointed out, that the president is actually very interesting, one of the more interesting leaders and dynamic leaders of Southeast Asia. And nakikita naman po yan ng iba't ibang mga bansa, no? Lalo-lalo ng mga iba't ibang leaders. And I think this is very good for us, especially in the fact that we are highlighting yung kakayahan ng ating Pangulo at yung kanyang vision para sa bansa, and at the same time yung imahe ng ating ng Pilipinas na dinadala niya every time he goes out of the country, to represent Philippines, especially in international fora like this, no? Not to mention the fact na he is the first president, in our history to be invited by the parliament. So I think this is something that speaks well of his abilities as well as his credentials and his capabilities, as a leader of our country.
Alright, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. Dr. Froilan Calilong, Political Analyst at Direktor ng Local Government Development Institute. Thank you, Professor.
Maraming po salamat. Pagbuti po.